Get rid of it. Here's $50,000. The envelope hit the kitchen table with a dull thud. I stared at it, then at him, Warren Ashford, the man whose child I was carrying. His face was stone cold, like we were discussing a business transaction instead of a life. Our child's life. "Warren, please," I whispered, my hand instinctively moving to my stomach. "We can figure this out. I know this is unexpected, but there's nothing to figure out, Brooke." His voice was sharp, cutting. "You work for my family." That's all this was. A mistake. One night that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen, and now everything was falling apart. Let me take you back to where it all started. 3 months earlier, when I was just the housemaid and he was the billionaire's son I was supposed to stay away from. I'd been working for the Ashford family for 2 years. Their estate in the Hamptons was massive. 12 bedrooms, indoor pool, tennis courts, and gardens that seemed to stretch forever. My job was simple: keep everything spotless, stay invisible, and never get in the way. Mrs. Gwen Ashford, Warren's mother, was particular about everything. The way the towels were folded, the temperature of her morning tea, the angle of the throw pillows in the living room. I learned quickly to follow her rules without question. Warren was different from what I expected. I'd seen him in photos around the house, always in a suit, always serious, always surrounded by important-looking people. The heir to Ashford Enterprises, a real estate empire worth billions. But when I finally met him in person, he surprised me. It was a Tuesday morning. I was in the library, dusting the shelves like I did every week. The ladder wobbled slightly under my feet as I reached for the top shelf. I should have been more careful. The ladder tipped. I gasped, arms flailing, waiting to hit the hardwood floor. Instead, strong hands caught me, steadying my fall. "Careful there," a deep voice said. I looked down into warm brown eyes. Warren Ashford was holding me, his hands firm on my waist. Up close, he was even more striking. Dark hair slightly messy, a day's worth of stubble on his jaw, and a small scar above his right eyebrow that made him look less like a billionaire and more like a real person. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Ashford," I stammered, my cheeks burning. "I should have been more careful." "Warren," he corrected gently. "Just Warren." He helped me down from the ladder, his hands lingering just a moment longer than necessary. I felt my pulse quicken. "You're Brooke, right?" he asked. "You've been working here for a while now." I was shocked he knew my name. "Yes, sir. I mean, Warren." He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "I've seen you around. You're always working. Don't you ever take a break?" "Breaks don't pay the bills," I replied, trying to sound casual. His smile faded slightly. "Right. Of course." He paused, studying me with an intensity that made my skin tingle. "Well, my mother's at her charity event. You could take an hour if you wanted. I won't tell." I shook my head quickly. "I'm fine." "But thank you, I should have walked away then. Should have remembered my place." But something in the way he looked at me made it impossible to move. Over the next few weeks, Warren found reasons to be wherever I was working. He'd bring me coffee while I cleaned. We'd talk about everything: books, music, dreams we'd tucked away. He told me about the pressure of being an Ashford, how he felt trapped by expectations. I told him about my sick mother, how I'd dropped out of nursing school to take care of her medical bills. "You're different," he said one evening. We were in the conservatory, rain drumming against the glass. "Most people just see the Ashford name. You actually see me. Warren, we shouldn't. This isn't." I struggled to find words. "I know," he interrupted, moving closer. "I know all the reasons this is impossible, but I can't stop thinking about you, Brooke. I can't stop wanting to be near you." My heart was racing. "You're engaged to Paige, to someone my parents chose, someone who fits their world." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. But when I'm with you, I feel like I can finally breathe. I knew it was wrong, knew I should walk away, knew this could only end badly. But when he kissed me, soft and tentative, I kissed him back. That kiss changed everything. It was gentle at first, questioning, like we were both testing whether this was real. Then his hands were in my hair, and mine were gripping his shirt, and nothing else mattered except the feeling of finally giving in to what we'd both been fighting. "Brooke," he whispered against my lips. "God, Brooke." We made love that night in the guest cottage by the pool, a place where no one would find us. Afterwards, lying in his arms, I let myself believe in the impossible. I let myself believe that love could conquer everything. "I'm going to end things with Paige," Warren murmured into my hair. "I'll talk to my parents. We'll figure this out, I promise." "Are you sure?" I asked, tracing patterns on his chest. "Your family—" "My family doesn't control my heart," he said firmly. "You do." I wanted desperately to believe him. For 2 months we existed in secret, stolen moments between my shifts, late-night phone calls when his family thought he was working, weekend drives to small towns where nobody knew the Ashford name. He told me he loved me 17 times. I counted each one like a treasure. "I love you, Brooke," he said one Sunday morning. We were at a little diner 2 hours from the estate, eating pancakes and pretending we were just a normal couple. "I love you too," I replied, squeezing his hand across the table. "I'm serious about this," he continued. "About us. I'm going to talk to my father this week. Tell him I'm calling off the engagement. What if he says no?" Warren's jaw tightened. "Then I'll walk away from everything. The company, the money, all of it. As long as I have you." Looking back, I should have known it was too good to be true. The night everything changed started like any other. Warren had been away on business for a week in Los Angeles. I missed him terribly, counting down the hours until he returned. We'd been texting all day, making plans, dreaming about our future. "Can't wait to see you tonight," his last message read. "I have something important to tell you." My heart soared. Maybe he'd finally told his parents. Maybe we could stop hiding. But when Warren came home that evening, something was wrong. He walked right past me in the hallway without even looking at me. His face was pale, his jaw clenched tight. I waited until late that night, after everyone had gone to bed, then crept upstairs to his room. I knocked softly on his door. "Come in," he called. I slipped inside, closing the door behind me. "Warren, what's going on?" "You've been avoiding me all evening." He was standing by the window, his back to me, hands shoved deep in his pockets. "We need to talk." Those 4 words sent ice through my veins. "Okay." He turned to face me, and his expression was blank, emotionless, like looking at a stranger. "Brooke, this thing between us, it can't continue." "What? Why? What happened in LA?" "My father found out about us." His voice was flat, mechanical. "One of the staff saw us together last month and told him. He's furious I felt the room start to spin." "So what does that mean?" "It means it's over." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It means we made a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, my voice cracking. "Warren, you said you loved me. You promised we'd figure this out together." "I was naive," he said coldly. "This was never going to work, Brooke. You have to see that. We're from different worlds." Tears burned my eyes. "Different worlds? You didn't care about that 2 weeks ago when you were telling me I was the best thing that ever happened to you." "I'm engaged, Brooke. The wedding is in 4 months. My family has business deals tied to this marriage. If I back out now, it could cost us millions. Hundreds of people could lose their jobs." "So this was about money all along?" I felt sick. "This is about responsibility," he snapped. "Something you clearly don't understand." His words hit me like physical blows. I don't understand. I've been working since I was 16 to support my family. Don't you dare talk to me about responsibility. Just leave, Brooke. His voice was tired. Please, this is hard enough. Hard for you? I laughed bitterly through my tears. You're breaking my heart, and it's hard for you. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. I was crying now, not caring who heard. You made me believe in us. You made me fall in love with you. You promised me forever. I'm sorry, he said quietly, finally looking at me. His eyes were red-rimmed but dry. But this is how it has to be. You need to understand. My family comes first. It always has. What we had was nice. But it wasn't real, not real. I could barely breathe. How can you say that? After everything. You're the maid, Brooke, he said, and his voice was cruel now. What did you think was going to happen? That I'd actually choose you over my entire life? I felt something break inside me. You're a coward, Warren Ashford, a coward and a liar. Maybe, he agreed, but at least I'm being honest now. Take it as a kindness, I turned and walked out, each step feeling like I was leaving pieces of my heart behind on his expensive carpet. 2 weeks later, I discovered I was pregnant. I stared at the positive pregnancy test in the staff bathroom, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. This couldn't be happening. Not now, not like this. But it was. 2 more tests confirmed it. I was carrying Warren Ashford's baby. I had to tell him. I found him in his study that evening, working on his laptop. When I knocked, he looked annoyed at the interruption. What is it, Brooke? His tone was dismissive, like I was bothering him. I closed the door behind me. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I need to talk to you. It's important. He sighed, closing his laptop. Make it quick. I have a conference call in 10 minutes. I took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was deafening. Warren's face went through several expressions: shock, disbelief, and finally something cold and calculating. Are you sure? He asked. I pulled the pregnancy tests from my pocket and placed them on his desk. 3 positive tests, lined up in a row. He stared at them for a long moment. How far along? About 6 weeks. From that night in the guest cottage, he stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. This is a disaster. A disaster? My voice shook. Warren, this is our baby. No, he said sharply, turning to face me. This is a problem. One that needs to be handled quickly and quietly. Handled? I felt cold all over. What does that mean? He walked to his desk, pulled out his checkbook, and wrote something quickly. He tore out the check and held it out to me. $50,000. Get the procedure done. Somewhere discreet. I'll have my assistant set it up if you need help finding a clinic. I stared at the check, unable to believe what I was hearing. You want me to abort our baby? It's not a baby yet, Brooke. It's a few weeks old, a cluster of cells. His voice was matter-of-fact, businesslike. This is the best solution for everyone. The best solution? I felt fury rising up through the pain. For everyone or for you? For both of us, he insisted. Think about it. You're 24 years old, working as a maid, barely making ends meet. How are you going to raise a child? You can't even afford your mother's medical bills. So you're doing me a favor? I asked sarcastically. How generous. I'm being practical. He pushed the check toward me again. Take the money, Brooke. Get the abortion. Move on with your life. Find someone from your own world. Have kids when you're actually ready. I looked down at the check. $50,000. More money than I'd ever seen. Enough to pay off my mother's medical debt and have some left over to maybe go back to school. All I had to do was give up my baby. No, I said quietly. What? No. I pushed the check back across the desk. I'm not doing it. I'm keeping this baby. Warren's expression hardened. Don't be stupid, Brooke. You can't possibly think this is a good idea. I think it's my choice, I said, my voice stronger now. This is my body, my baby. And I'm keeping it. Then you're on your own. His voice was ice. I'll deny everything. It'll be your word against mine, a disgruntled employee trying to trap a wealthy man. No one will believe you. I don't care if they believe me, I said, tears streaming down my face. I know the truth. And so do you. If you go through with this, you're fired, he continued, effective immediately, and I'll make sure you never work in the Hamptons again. I have connections everywhere. Fine. I wiped my tears away roughly. I'll work somewhere else, anywhere else, as long as it's far away from you. You're making a huge mistake. The only mistake I made was loving you. I turned toward the door, then stopped and looked back at him one last time. You know what's really sad, Warren? I actually thought you were different. I thought underneath all that money and privilege, you were a good person. But you're not. You're exactly what everyone thinks you are. A spoiled, selfish, rich boy who's never had to face real consequences for anything. Get out, he said through clenched teeth. Gladly. I walked out of his study, out of the Ashford mansion, and out of that life forever. Mrs. Ashford found me packing my room an hour later. Brooke, she said from the doorway, Warren told me about your situation. I continued folding my clothes, not looking at her. Then you know I'm leaving. Yes. She stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. I'm not going to pretend to understand your choices. But I will give you this. She placed an envelope on my bed. 2 months severance and a reference letter. It says you left for personal reasons. Thank you, I said stiffly. Brooke, look at me. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. When I finally met her eyes, I saw something like sympathy there. I know my son can be difficult, but this baby, if you truly intend to keep it, deserves better than to be raised in anger and resentment. I'll manage, I said. I'm sure you will. She paused at the door. For what it's worth, I think you're very brave. Foolish, perhaps, but brave. After she left, I sat on the bed and let myself cry one last time for Warren, for us, for everything that could have been. Then I dried my tears, finished packing, and called a taxi. I was 24 years old, pregnant, unemployed, and about to become a single mother. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I was angry, and anger, I was learning, could be just as powerful as love. I went to stay with my mom in Buffalo, 300 miles away from the Hamptons and the Ashfords. I couldn't tell her the whole truth. She'd be devastated to know I'd gotten involved with my employer, so I told her I'd been dating someone who turned out to be married. Oh, honey, she said, pulling me into a hug despite her frail condition. These things happen. You'll get through this. We'll get through this together. Finding work while pregnant was harder than I expected. Most places took one look at my growing belly, and suddenly the position was filled. I finally got a job waitressing at a diner near our apartment. The tips weren't great, but it was enough to cover rent and groceries. My pregnancy progressed normally. Morning sickness hit hard for the first trimester. I was exhausted all the time, working double shifts to save money for when the baby came. Every night I'd come home and collapse on the couch, too tired to even take off my shoes. But I never regretted my decision, not once. At my 20-week ultrasound, the technician smiled at me. Do you want to know the gender? Yes, I breathed. It's a girl. A girl. I was having a daughter. Tears streamed down my face as I watched her tiny form on the screen, her perfect little hands, her beating heart, her beautiful profile. She's healthy, the technician continued. Everything looks perfect. I named her Autumn Rose Walker. No Ashford anywhere in her name. Warren had given up that right when he tried to pay me to abort her. My daughter was born on a snowy February morning after 14 hours of labor. The moment they placed her in my arms, wrinkled and screaming and absolutely perfect, I fell completely in love. "Hi, baby girl," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "I'm your mama, and I'm going to love you forever." Autumn had my dark hair and pale skin, but her eyes, those warm brown eyes that I saw every time I looked at her, those were pure Warren. Being a single mum was harder than anything I'd ever done. The sleepless nights, the constant worry about money, the loneliness of doing it all alone. But every time Autumn smiled at me, every time she wrapped her tiny fingers around mine, I knew it was worth it. I didn't tell Warren she was born. He'd made his choice, and I'd made mine. Autumn was 8 months old when my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Hello? Brooke, it's Gwen Ashford." My blood ran cold. "How did you get this number?" "I have my ways," she said. "I'm calling because I need to know something." "Did you have the baby?" Every maternal instinct screamed at me to lie, to protect my daughter from these people who'd already rejected her once. But I was tired of hiding, tired of being ashamed of the best thing that ever happened to me. "Yes," I said firmly, "I have a daughter. Her name is Autumn. She's 8 months old, healthy, and perfect, and we're doing just fine without your son's money." Silence stretched across the line, then quietly, "Warren doesn't know, does he?" He made it very clear he didn't want to know. "Brooke, I know my son hurt you terribly. But this child, she's still Warren's daughter. She deserves to know her father." "She deserves a father who wants her," I corrected, "not someone who tried to pay me to abort her." "You're right," Mrs. Ashford said, surprising me. "You're absolutely right, but people make mistakes, terrible, unforgivable mistakes. The question is whether you'll allow Warren the chance to correct he had his chance," I said coldly. "He chose fear," she replied. "Fear of disappointing his family, fear of losing everything. It was cowardly, yes, but it was fear, not malice. And now things are different." "What do you mean?" "The wedding was called off 3 months ago. Paige found out about you and the affair. She ended things, and Warren has been lost ever since." "Good," I thought viciously. "Let him suffer." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because despite everything, you deserve to know. And because if Warren knew about Autumn, I think he'd want to meet her." She paused. "I'm not asking you to take him back. I'm not even asking you to forgive him. But would you consider letting him meet his daughter?" I looked over at Autumn, sitting in her bouncer, chewing on her favorite toy. She was laughing, completely oblivious to the complicated world of adults. "If he wants to meet her," I said slowly, "he can come to Buffalo. Alone, no lawyers, no checks, no conditions. He comes as a man, not as an Ashford. I'll tell him," Mrs. Ashford promised. "Thank you, Brooke." 3 days later, Warren showed up at my apartment door. He looked terrible, thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under his eyes. His expensive suit was rumpled, his hair uncombed. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. "Brooke," he said, my name rough on his tongue. "Thank you for seeing me." I didn't move from the doorway. "Why are you here, Warren?" "To apologize, to beg for forgiveness, to meet my daughter, if you'll let me." He swallowed hard. "I know I don't deserve any of those things. But I'm asking anyway. Why now? Because your wedding fell through? Because your perfect life imploded?" He flinched. "Because I've been a coward. Because I let fear control my decisions. Because every single day since you left, I've regretted what I did to you." "Words are cheap, Warren." "I know." He reached into his jacket and pulled out the check I'd refused months ago. He tore it in half, then in quarters, letting the pieces flutter to the ground. "I don't want to buy my way out of this," I want to be a father. If you'll let me, if she'll let me, I know I have no right to ask." Autumn chose that moment to start crying from inside the apartment. Warren's head snapped up, his eyes widening at the sound of his daughter's voice for the first time. "That's her?" he whispered. Against every ounce of common sense I had, I stepped aside. 5 minutes, that's all you get." Warren entered my tiny apartment like he was walking into something sacred. Autumn was in her playpen, crying over a dropped toy. The moment Warren saw her, he froze. "Oh my God," he breathed. "She has my eyes." "And my stubborn personality," I said, moving to pick her up. "Autumn, there's someone here to meet you." I held her protectively as Warren approached slowly, carefully, like she might disappear if he moved too fast. His face was a mixture of wonder and pain. "Hi, Autumn," he whispered, his voice breaking. I'm Warren. I'm so sorry I wasn't here sooner. I'm so sorry." Autumn studied him with those serious brown eyes. His eyes, as if weighing whether this stranger was worth her time. Then, inexplicably, she reached for him. My heart clenched as Warren looked at me, silently asking permission. I nodded, and he gently took Autumn in his arms. He held her like she was made of glass, tears streaming openly down his face. But Autumn seemed to sense something, some biological connection, and settled against his chest, grabbing his finger with her tiny hand. "She's perfect," Warren said, his voice thick with emotion. "She's absolutely perfect, Brooke. Thank you. Thank you for keeping her, for raising her, for being strong when I was weak. She's not a gift I'm giving you, Warren. She's a person, and if you want to be in her life, you need to prove you deserve to be." He nodded, not taking his eyes off Autumn. "Anything. Tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it. Start by being honest. Tell me everything, why you really pushed me away." So he did. Over the next 2 hours, as Autumn dozed in his arms, Warren told me everything. The threats from Paige's father, the business deals that would collapse if the wedding didn't happen, the pressure from his own father about family legacy and responsibility. "I thought I was being responsible," he said quietly. "Protecting the company, protecting jobs. But really, I was just taking the easy way out, the way that didn't require me to fight." "You should have fought for us," I said. "We were worth fighting for." "I know that now." "God, Brooke, I know. Every day without you has been torture. And knowing I have a daughter I've never met, that I almost—" His voice broke. "I can't change what I did, but I can change what I do next. If you'll let me," I looked at him holding our daughter, looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Part of me wanted to stay angry, wanted to make him suffer the way I'd suffered. But another part of me, the part that remembered loving him, that remembered who he'd been before fear took over, that part wanted to believe people could change. "This isn't about us," I said carefully. "It's about Autumn. She deserves a father who shows up, who keeps his promises, who loves her without conditions." "I can be that father," Warren said fiercely, tears in his eyes. "I will be that father. Just give me a chance to prove it." "Okay," I said slowly, "but you start from the bottom. You want to be her father? Then be here. Not with money or gifts or fancy lawyers. Just be here." "I will," he promised. "I swear to you, Brooke, I will." And surprisingly, he did. Warren got an apartment in Buffalo. He came over every day, learning how to change diapers, prepare bottles, soothe Autumn when she cried. He was patient when she refused his comfort and wanted only me. He showed up again and again, proving through actions what his words alone couldn't. Slowly, impossibly, I began to believe him again. Not all at once. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. But piece by piece, day by day, He earned his way back into our lives. One evening, 6 months after he'd first shown up at my door, Warren was giving Autumn her bath. She was splashing and laughing, soaking his shirt. He didn't care. "She's got your smile," I said from the doorway. He looked up at me, and something in his expression made my heart skip. "I love you, Brooke." I never stopped, but I know love isn't enough. I know I need to earn you back day by day, moment by moment, and I'm prepared to do that for however long it takes. "What if it takes forever?" I asked quietly. "Then I'll spend forever proving I'm worth a second chance." I walked over and took his wet, soapy hand. He looked down at our joined hands, then up at me, hope blazing in those brown eyes. "You're not there yet," I admitted, "but you're getting closer." It took another year of Warren showing up, being present, choosing us over everything else, another year of watching him love Autumn with complete devotion, another year of slowly rebuilding what he'd broken, but eventually, inevitably, I fell back in love with him. The night I told him, we were sitting on my couch after putting Autumn to bed. He was telling me about a business decision he'd made, choosing a smaller profit to keep jobs in Buffalo instead of moving operations overseas. "That's good," I said. "That's the right choice." "I learned from the best," he replied, squeezing my hand. I took a deep breath. "Warren, I need to tell you something." He turned to face me, concern in his eyes. "What is it?" "I love you." The words came out in a rush. "I'm still scared, and I'm still healing, but I love you." I think I never really stopped his eyes filled with tears. "Brooke." "I'm not finished," I interrupted. "If we do this, if we try again, it has to be different. No secrets, no running away when things get hard. We face everything together, or we don't do this at all." "Together," he agreed, pulling me close. "Always together." "I swear it, Brooke. I'll never run from you again." He kissed me then, and it felt like coming home, like finding something I'd thought was lost forever. We took it slow. Warren moved into a bigger place, and we stayed in our apartment. We dated properly this time. Dinners, movies, normal couple things. Autumn adored having both her parents around, even if we lived separately. 6 months later, Warren proposed, not with some elaborate display, but simply sitting on my living room floor while Autumn played between us. "Marry me," he said, pulling out a simple ring. "Not because it's expected or convenient, but because I can't imagine my life without you and Autumn in it. Both of you." I looked at the ring, modest, elegant, nothing like the gaudy diamond Paige must have had, and then at Autumn, happily babbling to herself. "Yes," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Yes, Warren." 1,000 times. We got married in a small ceremony in Buffalo. Just us, Autumn, my mother, and surprisingly, Mrs. Ashford. She'd made peace with our relationship, even offering a genuine apology. "I was wrong about you, Brooke," she told me before the ceremony. "You did something remarkable. You raised that beautiful girl with grace and strength. Warren is lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have him too." I admitted, the man he became at least. She smiled. People can change when they have the right motivation. 5 years after that terrible morning in the Ashford kitchen, I stood in our backyard, the house Warren bought us in Buffalo, watching Autumn play with her baby brother. Warren came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Happy?" he asked. I leaned back against him, watching our children laugh in the summer sunshine. Autumn was teaching her brother how to blow bubbles, her brown eyes bright with joy. "Yeah," I said, meaning it completely. "I really am." "Thank you," Warren whispered, "for keeping her, for giving me another chance, for everything I turned in his arms. Thank you for becoming the man worth keeping." He smiled and kissed me, and standing there, surrounded by the family we'd fought so hard to build, I knew we'd finally found our way home. The journey had been brutal. The heartbreak had nearly destroyed me. But looking at autumn, at our sun, at the life we'd created from ashes, I wouldn't change a single moment, not even the painful ones, because those painful moments had forged us into something stronger, something real, something worth fighting for.